Hello and a very warm welcome to World This Week by Latest Laws. This is our weekly program, so subscribe and press the bell icon to get notified. My name is Monica Rahar and let's get started by having a look at Supreme Court this week.
The Supreme Court has issued notice to the central government on a plea urging direction to the government to bring back workers from Gulf countries. The Payal has highlighted that around 44 Indians have faced death sentences while 33,000 plus Indians have died in the past 6 years in these countries. The government of Andhra Pradesh has approached the apex court challenging the state high court order whereby the state government's decision of having English as a medium of instruction in the state-run primary schools was quashed. The state has argued before the apex court that this move was to empower the poor and the Dalit as they will be at par with other students by having English as a medium of instruction. But the apex court did not find any substance in the submission, and the court, while stating that these questions arising out of the debate over English versus vernacular languages, they're very complex and there is no one single answer to this question. The court therefore has listed the matter for further hearing. The Supreme Court has permitted the doctors who were accused of abating suicide of Dr. Payal Tadvi to re-enter college and hospital to pursue their course study. These doctors, they were alleged to have passed derogatory remarks against Dr. Payal's caste and also of harassing her, and therefore they were charged for the same. And in the meanwhile, the Bombay High Court granted them bail, but the High Court also imposed a restriction on their entry into the hospital and the college. The Supreme Court, however, has reversed this restriction, stating that they are innocent until proven guilty, and by invoking their rights of life and liberty under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, they were granted the above stated relief. The apex court has permitted a group of CLAT aspirants to make their representations regarding issues with respect to this year's CLAT exam before the Grievance Redressal Committee, which is to be headed by a retired Chief Justice of India. The Reserve Bank of India, in a fresh affidavit filed before the apex court, has stated that loan moratorium exceeding 6 months may result in vitiating the overall credit discipline, which will have a weakening impact on the process of credit creation in the economy. While hearing a challenge against the Rajasthan High Court order affirming change in seat matrix for medical and dental students in the state by eliminating the NRI reservation, the Supreme Court has held that the private colleges are in fact free to decide whether to give the reservation to NRI candidates or not. However, a reasonable notice has to be served in advance by such an institution if it chooses to not extend the reservation anymore. The alleged victim in 2013 sexual assault case, who is now represented by the state of Goa, against journalist Tarun Tejpal, has sought cross-examination via video conferencing amid the COVID-19 crisis. Tejpal has strongly objected to her cross-examination virtually before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has, however, put forth a question before the journalists that why can't we cross-examine since we are conducting the entire proceeding virtually. In a very interesting legal finding, and also what may come as a perplexing finding rather, the Supreme Court finds a man convicted for murder committed in 1981 to be a juvenile, and the man will be remanded back to Juvenile Justice Board under the relevant provisions of the Juvenile Justice Act 2000. While hearing a suggestion put forth that full MSP should not be paid to farmers who are indulging in stubble burning, which is a leading cause for environmental pollution, the Supreme Court has asked who is going to verify if the farmers has indulged in stubble burning or not. The Supreme Court has asked the Supreme Court Arguing Counsel Association to withdraw its appeal seeking interest-free loans for lawyers and allowed it to file an intervention application in a pending matter on the similar issue. Now let's proceed to the next segment of our news analysis and have a look at Delhi High Court this week. The High Court of Delhi has issued notice to the central government and also to HP India Sales Private Limited and others on a petition which has challenged the constitutional validity of Section 177, subsection 9 and 10 of the Companies Act 2013 along with Section 4 and 19 of the Court Fee Act. The above-mentioned section of the Companies Act, they provide for whistle mechanism for directors and employees to report genuine concerns. The court has directed the government of Delhi to purchase before November 30 insurance policies from LIC and New India Assurance Company for over 29,000 lawyers under the Chief Minister's Advocate Welfare Scheme. Petition has been filed before the Supreme Court urging issuance of directions to allow the Special Marriage Act to apply to all couples regardless of their gender identity and their sexual orientation. In response to a PIL which sought direction to Google, Facebook and Twitter to ensure removal of fake news and hate speech, the government has stated that any unlawful content on these social media platforms can be disabled either by the court order or by a government notification or by the website's own grievance officer if they violate the policies and terms of use. The CBI has told the Delhi High Court that the trial court verdict acquitting all accused including former Telecom Minister A. Raja in the 2G spectrum allocation cases was decided to be challenged after receiving an opinion of such a challenge from the government. The court has declined to entertain a PIL which sought guidelines to universities and such institutions to charge only the tuition fee, that too in installments in view of COVID-19 restrictions or crisis. Now let's proceed and have a look at Bombay High Court this week. The court has issued direction to Payal Ghosh and Richa Chadda to explore a settlement in the defamation suit which was filed by Richa Chadda seeking compensation from Payal Ghosh for making allegedly defamatory remarks against Richa while Payal was levelling sexual harassment allegations against Anurag Kashyap. Now let's proceed and have a look at Allahabad High Court. The High Court, while dismissing a PIL seeking permission to organize Durga Puja in Prayagraj, has directed the petitioners to approach the district magistrate for the same relief. The court has granted a time of 2 months to the UP Subordinate Services Selection Commission to declare the results of recruitment of Excise Department soldiers. The court by its order has handed over hearings of cases against Tablighi Jamaat members to the Chief Judicial Magistrate of Lucknow, Meerut and Bareilly and directed them to be disposed of in 8 weeks. Next, we have an update from the High Court of Punjab and Haryana. The court has held that it is the state that has the power to de-notify the land which is acquired under the Right of Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act of 2013. Now let's have a look at the Gujarat High Court. The High Court has held lawyer Yatin Oza, the president of the High Court's Bar Association, guilty of contempt of court for terming the High Court a gambling den and for levelling allegations of foreign shopping during a press conference. Now we have an update from the Madras High Court. The High Court has upheld mandatory state service for all postgraduate medical students in Tamil Nadu. As per the admission prospect, all the PG students must compulsorily serve 2 years in the government hospitals in the state. Now let's proceed to the miscellaneous segment of our news analysis. The nation has bid its final farewell to the leader of the masses, the former Union Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, late Shri Ramvilas Paswan. In wake of actor Rakulpreet Singh's plea in the High Court of Delhi, the IB Ministry has finally issued advisory to TV channels to broadcast content which adheres to program code which is laid down under the Cable Television Network Regulation Act of 1995 and to not criticize or slander any individual or certain groups. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation has issued detailed guidelines regarding refund of tickets. The NBSA has fined Aaj Tak for ₹1 lakh for spreading fake news regarding last tweet of late actor Sushant Singh Rajput, while G News and News 24 are directed to issue an apology over their insensitive coverage and taglines of the late actor's death. The state of Telangana has agreed to withdraw case filed in the Supreme Court related to sharing of Krishna and Godavari waters. The NCERT has signed an MOU with the Indian Sign Languages Research and Training Center to make textbooks and other educational material accessible to deaf children in sign languages. Now let's proceed to the last segment of our news analysis and have a look at World This Week. A high court in Peshawar, Pakistan has stopped the auction of a portion of land which belonged to an ancient Gurudwara and has directed the country's anti-corruption watchdog to probe the matter. Pakistan has no actual extradition treaty with the United States, the country's apex court has said on Friday while hearing a case of an American national of Pakistani origin who was accused of planning a bomb attack in New York in 2016. The US Supreme Court has taken up a case involving Muslim men who claimed their right to religion were violated when they were placed on the government's no-fly list because they refused to serve as FBI informants. The love child of ex-Belgian King Albert II won a 7-year-long battle over her royal rights, and now she can officially be called a princess. Brussels has finally launched legal action against the United Kingdom over its plans to override sections of the Brexit withdrawal agreement. That's all we have for this week. The links to all these news updates can be accessible in the description box. Thank you for being with us.